Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. We have that show coming on Friday, October 8th. I would actually have played our actual opening, but it has disappeared on our server. I don't know where it's at, but it is gone. Let's go ahead and start this and get this going. The war over Knoxville. Rodney, I'm going to start with you before we get into the particulars and the information that we have. But the war of Knoxville, pretty bad war when it came to professional wrestling.
Yeah, it was. There was no winner. There was absolutely no winner. Just the biggest losses to the wrestling fans. And the fact of the matter is that it just looked like gigantic egos just clashing. People accusing other people of stealing and all kinds of stuff. But in the end, the people that really suffered were the people in Knoxville, because it took forever for interest to come back. And there was so many years, about 6 years before any, 5-6 years before any great wrestling came back or wrestling became successful. Had great wrestling there, just nobody was interested in seeing it.
Jack, what do you think? Some wars are bad. There was the War of Atlanta, but it was nothing like this war.
Yeah, there was just too much dirty laundry being put out there for that day and time, especially. I mean, it's never a good time, but especially back in the day when kayfabe was still trying to be kept alive. That was one thing, I guess, difference, because in Georgia, everybody was still trying to protect the business. Knoxville was a completely different, where they were really, we didn't find out unless you were really inside the inside part. You didn't realize that they were ready to expose the business completely back then in order to win this.
And would they have really won it?
No. I think they would have killed a lot of business, not just in Knoxville. That was still a pivotal time back in those days. We were still a long way away from, Vince McMahon coming out and saying differently.
The name of the wrestling company that we're about to talk about, well, there's two: Southeastern Championship Wrestling and All-Star Championship Wrestling. Jack, go ahead and pick it up.
All-Star Championship Wrestling was the organization that was formed by Ronnie Garvin, Bob Roop, Bob Orton Jr., and Boris Malenko after leaving Southeastern Championship Wrestling. They began plans to run opposition against NWA promoter Ron Fuller in the spring of 1979. A major source of friction was the creative differences and backstage politics involving the promoter's brother, Robert Fuller, who was involved with Southeastern's office at the time. It was also suspected that Ron Fuller was stealing money from the talent. The incident, which finally triggered the split, occurred when Bob Roop and Ron Wright allegedly caught the ticket seller stealing money from the gate at a Southeastern house show. After confronting Fuller, Roop was convinced that they had been acting under the promoter's orders. Bob Roop commented on an interview. I went to see Ron Fuller. I told him what was happening, suspecting that he was not only aware of it, but likely the one ordering it done. My suspicions were justified by his response to my charge of the double ticket selling. He told me he couldn't believe his ticket people would or could do that, and just registered total shock and disbelief, in effect denying that it was happening. Well, let me ask you, if the general manager, as well as one of the top talents in your company, comes to you with these kinds of accusations, do you think that you are going to deny them out of hand? No. You're going to tell him that you are going to be looking into that accusation, thank him for letting you know about it, and that you would get to the bottom of it, etc. Then he denied that it could be happening and clearly planned on continuing to do the same thing, and that made him my enemy. He was stealing from me every night, taking money that I had given blood, sweat, and tears to earn. He wasn't satisfied that we were doing great business and earning him a fortune. He had to steal off the top of it. Then he would lie to my face and deny what I presented to him as known factual evidence to me And that to me was a personal insult, and I lost whatever small affection or respect I might have felt for him. That he thought I would take it and be happy because I was making quite a bit of money, even after being shafted, was a reflection as to his opinion of my character, and another deeply felt personal insult. That he would let us run the entire show, give us carte blanche to do what we wished with his territory, and then give us the old shaftola. He clearly thought we were all stooges who would just put up with that kind of an insult.
You know,
he was wrong.
Here's the thing. I'm not for sure, and I could be wrong about this, but was Robert Fuller not booking Memphis wrestling at the time?
Yes.
Yeah,
so he was not there at the time. So this story where it says that Robert Fuller was there, I don't believe Robert Fuller was there. Now he may have came in and out of there. I'm not saying that he didn't come in and out of there, but I'm not for sure he was there at the time. I think he was in Memphis. All right, Rodney.
Okay, well, anyway, Mr. Roop, I find his story to be lacking in that if you find someone is screwing you on your payoff, you don't just say, I'm going to steal your territory. You get up and walk out. You don't just keep doing it. What a load of, anyway, we'll not repeat our Memphis reaction. We'll continue and we'll do it as professionally as possible. A friend of Roop, which I doubt there's many of those, from the NWA Florida territory, Dick Slater was staying at his home while recovering from an accidental gunshot wound, which you would think I wouldn't want him in my house with an accidental gunshot wound. Roop had convinced Fuller to bring Slater into Southeastern Championship Wrestling, paying him a weekly $800 guarantee while injured, and personally loaned Slater an additional $1,000. Slater allegedly agreed to join Roop's group, but secretly informed Florida promoter Eddie Graham, who warned Fuller about their plans to steal Knoxville territory. Fuller confronted Roop, who agreed to resign his position as booker. Fuller gave the position to Slater. This forced Roop and his partners to proceed earlier than they had planned. I don't know about his lawyer, but I'm sure Fuller must have been mad, or rightly so, if you think about it. Every time a group of his boys hung out on the boat at Norris Lake, we would all have a pretty good time and laugh at Fuller's expense. Seriously, though, you have gotten to appreciate Fuller's dilemma. He had to keep kayfabe. He probably let me try that again. He had not kept kayfabe. He would probably have gotten his boat back, but he would have put his business at great risk. Fuller's promotion at the time was extremely successful, drawing sellout crowds weekly, both in the home city of Knoxville and several other weekly spot shows.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this boat situation, and so everybody can kind of give an idea of what this was all about. In June of 2005, in a question and answer session with Izzy Slapowitz. Izzy Slapowitz, by the way, was a manager for All-Star Championship Wrestling. I think, Jack, did he not just pass away?
About a year or so ago.
He discusses the Garvin-Fuller lawsuit. Garvin was involved in a storyline feud with Fuller over the NWA Southeastern Heavyweight Championship prior to the split. A week before his departure, Garvin won both the title and a boat owned by Fuller. He was supposed to lose the belt the following week. However, Garvin and his partners planned to run their first show instead. Garvin brought the title with him upon forming All-Star Championship Wrestling, continue making title defenses on All-Star and ICW shows. Southeastern Championship Wrestling did not acknowledge this and quietly purchased a new belt. In addition to winning the title, Garvin also won a boat owned by Fuller. This was part of a scripted storyline rather than a legitimate prize, but Garvin kept the boat. Now, I know that's not funny, but it is to a certain extent. You
kind of wonder if Austin Idol got his ideas from Ronnie Garvin.
Yes. The promoter brought Garvin to court in an effort to recover his property. However, Fuller lost the case rather than expose the business by admitting the match was predetermined. In a Its television show, All-Star Championship Wrestling, aired on WTVK Channel 26 in Knoxville and syndicated to WKPT Channel 19 in Kingsport, Tennessee, WKYH in Hazard, Kentucky. Big Jim S. Whoop your head, Ode, a former Southeastern Championship Wrestling announcer, was able to use his connections as a sales representative at WTVK to get All-Star on television. Southeastern Championship Wrestling had originally aired on WTVK before Fuller bought the promotion and moved the show to WBIR Channel 10. Throughout its run, All-Star had poor television coverage in Knoxville compared to Southeastern Championship Wrestling. They did, however, possess a strong talent roster, giving All-Star a decided advantage against the NWA-backed rival, which receiving talent from Championship Wrestling from Florida, Georgia Championship Wrestling, and Jim Crockett Promotions. Kind of sad when you think about this. All right, Jack.
Things soon got very heated between the two groups. Like ICW, All-Star wrestlers often taunted their NWA rivals in public. The promoters offered up to $5,000 to those who could defeat an All-Star wrestler at any one of their shows. One All-Star live event at the Bill Mayer Stadium on September 22nd, 1979, advertised a chicken challenge bout between Bob Orton Jr. and Ron Fuller. The winner would win $5,000 and be declared a chicken if Fuller did not appear. Dick Slater, Ox Baker, Jimmy Golden, and Sterling Golden were similarly targeted. In October of '79, Fuller was granted a temporary restraining order against Garvin, Roop, Orton, and Malenko. Fuller claimed the four wrestlers were attempting to run him out of business and had acted in a disorderly and obnoxious manner at NWA Southeastern shows in order to drive off wrestling fans. Fuller was seeking up to $2.5 million in damages at the time of the lawsuit. Ron Fuller finally withdrew from Knoxville at the end of the year and sold the NWA Knoxville office to Georgia Championship Wrestling promoter Jim Barnett. Fuller replaced Knoxville with Birmingham as the main end of Southeastern's territory and continued promoting in Alabama for a number of years. Fuller attempted a return to Knoxville several times during the 1980s, his last effort being the short-lived USA Championship Wrestling in 1988, but he was never able to repeat the same success he had in the previous decade with Southeastern.
You know, in 1985, 86, 87, Knoxville was the biggest cards of all time and did very well. Now, did he ever draw what he drew in Johnson City? No, he probably never drew. But Knoxville, Tennessee, big houses from 1985. I guess it was 86, wasn't it, Rodney?
Yeah, started at 85, 86 is when they started to go up there. This last sentence here, I have to call a humongous BS on that. And I hate to be this way, as you know. And I'm trying to control myself. It caused me to stutter in my last reading. Let's just be honest. No one except for Ron Fuller made a success out of Knoxville until he returned in 86. And this nonsense that he tried several times. No, he tried the one time. And he took right back over where he left off. So it's just total nonsense. The USA Championship Wrestling was I'm not sure how that came to be, but Ron Fuller and Bob Polk decided to keep the USA, the Knoxville end from the southern end where they sold to David Woods. And so Ron and Bob ran USA Championship Wrestling and changed the name to keep, I guess, make it different than Continental Championship Wrestling. But the idea that it was that he struggled somehow and he didn't get the success it's untrue. It's absolutely untrue.
He did very well. 1985, 86, 87. USA Championship Wrestling, not so much. There's a lot of reasons for that. We've talked about it on another program. But Rodney, go ahead and pick it up.
I will try to contain myself as I read the rest of this. All-Star Championship Wrestling was primarily based in Knoxville and ran shows in East Tennessee and parts of Kentucky and West Virginia. it competed for many of the same towns that Southeastern Championship Wrestling ran in the NWA Knoxville territory. All-Star held weekly shows and regularly sold out the WNOX auditorium. I guess that's what it was called. The promotion was forced to find another home, however, due to property damage caused by rioting fans on March the 15th, 1980. All-Star also held outdoor shows at Evans Collins Fields. Other promotions in the area included NWA Mid-America wrestling promoter Nick Goulas, who controlled Chattanooga and Knoxville, Tennessee, Jerry Jarrett's Continental Wrestling Association in Memphis. After the end of the war with Fuller, the owners left Knoxville and relocated to Lexington. I know I'm talking about the All-Star crew left for Lexington. Unlike typical outlaw promotions, All-Star Championship Wrestling were able to feature mainstream talent. Along with the four founding members, Ronnie Garvin, Bob Roop, Bob Orton Jr., and Boris Malenko, a number of Southeastern Championship Wrestling wrestlers jumped to All-Star Wrestling, including Barry O, Pistol Paz Watley, Terry Gibbs, and the brothers Ron and Don Wright. Ron Wright, then color commentator for Southeastern Championship Wrestling, left Fuller to join All-Star and became an important figure behind the scenes. The main heel stable was the Slapowitz Syndicate. The syndicate, led by manager Izzy Slapowitz, included various times Malenko, Orton, Barry O, Randy Savage, Rip Rogers, Tony Peters. According to Slapowitz, Savage was perfect. His familiar, he was perfecting his Macho Man persona during this period.
Buddy,
woo! All right.
Buddy Landell, a future NWA National Heavyweight Champion, got his start with All-Star Championship Wrestling. The young wrestler initially lived with Bob Roop and his wife in Knoxville. After All South Wrestling merged with ICW, Landell and female wrestler Donna Day slept in the front window of Savage's gym in Lexington. And they must have been like they must have been what they sit in front of so people could know what you look like if you worked at the gym. All-Star's limited exposure on television, however, was blamed for keeping other younger wrestlers from being noticed by the bigger promotions. Association with the International Championship Wrestling. Soon after declaring war on Fuller, All-Star found an alley partner, and Angelo Poffo and his outlaw promotion, International Championship Wrestling, which, by the way, tried to do the same thing to Jerry Jarrett, based in Lexington, Kentucky. Poffo had been feuding with the NWA promoter Jerry Jarrett in the Continental Wrestling Association of Memphis and was looking to gain a foothold in Tennessee. The two groups shared talent and co-promoted shows in the Knoxville area. One of those shows, Battle Against Muscular I can't even say that word, was held at the Chiawi Park Amphitheater on August 8th, 1980. Half of the money raised at the event was donated to the MDA. They also calibrated on a weekly television series, International All-Star Wrestling, which gave All-Star significant television exposure in Kentucky. Poffo's sons, Lanny Poffo and Randy Savage, were regularly featured on All-Star shows, with Savage defending the ICW Heavyweight Champion. I think that might have been a World Heavyweight Championship against Knoxville challengers. Many former All-Star wrestlers later joined the Poffos after the promotion ceased operations in Knoxville. Ronnie Garvin, Bob Roop, Bob Orton Jr. became minority owners after the merger with ICW.
All-Star had achieved a rare win over an NWA-affiliated promotion. However, as the promotional war burned out many wrestling fans and effectively killed the Knoxville territory, Jim Cornette believed negative press coverage during the period was largely responsible. It would be 5 years before it became profitable to run pro wrestling in the city again. Other promotions unsuccessfully attempted to take over the region during the period, including, and most notably, Georgia Championship Wrestling with Jim Crockett Promotions. All-Star struggled in the months following Fuller's departure and eventually merged with ICW in May of 1980. Ronnie Garvin, Bob Roop, Bob Orton Jr. became the minority owners after the All-Star merger. Boris Malenko opted to leave Knoxville and established his own outlaw group, Sun Belt Wrestling, in Jacksonville, Florida in early 1981. The Poffos continued their war against NWA promoter Jerry Jarrett and Continental Wrestling Association in Memphis, which did not end until ICW closed in 1984.
You know, when you do commentary on this and you read the story, unfortunately, did the little ticket thing go on in professional wrestling? Yes. It happened many times, many different territories, many different places. Did that happen? Yes. Did it give you did that give you the opportunity to go run against someone? This whole thing did not help anyone. It certainly didn't help Bob Roop and them. Why didn't they leave and go somewhere else and start a territory maybe nobody else was running? But they wanted to run against it and eventually killed it for both people. And killed it for Georgia Championship Wrestling. We were there. Bad crowds in Georgia during that time. And then I think after that, actually Blackjack Mulligan, Ric Flair, actually bought into the territory. That didn't do well, so Jim Crockett took it over. It just did bad business altogether. And I think the Poffos I think when it comes down to it, they're the ones that wanted to make all the money, and they wanted to be the ones that made the money. I don't say anything bad about Ron Fuller in this instance, because I think they just wanted a territory. They wanted to be a owner of a territory. And that's the only way they figured they could do it. Rodney?
Well, like I said earlier, if somebody was messing you around, you just leave. We just leave. This was something that they thought they could achieve. All right. That was an excuse. They were going to do it regardless. It didn't make any difference. They were going to do it. And this idea of Ron Wright was just a person just tagged along and jumped over after a while. That's incorrect. He was right along with them right in the beginning. So, and was blackballed and rightfully so. Every one of them that was in it should have been. And I'm not sure why in the world anybody would give him another chance, especially Bob Roop, who's about as exciting as watching Kevin Sullivan. So, I mean, it just amazed me that they actually thought that they could.
To me, Kevin Sullivan's a whole lot more exciting than Bob Roop.
Well, it just depends on when you're watching it.
I can remember seeing Bob Roop do commentary and Chattanooga, and this is how he do it. Well, you know that Pez Watley, he's really one great wrestler there. As you see, he took the man over. Just a great move he just made on the guy.
And I can't believe
I went to sleep during it.
I couldn't believe Watts would allow him to do commentary on his show.
Now, he wasn't so bad there.
It was,
Jack, what do you think? What's your take on all the bull crap we just read?
Well, I think Roop and the other guys were looking for a reason to try to get a territory that was making money. We're not on here touting that Ron Fuller was an angel, but I don't think what he was accused of is what happened. Just from my dealings with him, I mean, Ron's straightforward about stuff. You know, whether you like what he has to say or not, I've never known of him to be anything other than straight up. So, and Bob Roop's reputation inside the industry speaks for itself. So, not a lot to add there. I will add this though, as a tag to the end there. When Malenko left, what we gathered all this information from several sources, but when Malenko left, he didn't start Sunbelt. Louis Tilley and Don Curtis were both the owners of Sunbelt. Malenko was the front man for the company. He was the face. I'm not sure. They ran for a little while. They had TV, but they had Don had a falling out with Eddie Graham over his percentages of the Jacksonville office, which is he was co-promoter of, and so he cut. Obviously, people want all the money, so it is what it is. But anyway, that's just a little footnote to what we just talked about.
Basically comes down to if you're making $1,000 a week, you want to make $2,000, and that's what it comes down to.
Well, even in there, Roop talked about that they were making great money.
Yeah. So
if you were making great money, why are you wanting to rock the boat? unless you're wanting all the money.
Exactly. And I think they had rolled down went down the road and said, we're the ones drawing this money. We could just do it all and we could take all the money. Just think about it. Just the 4 or 5 of us, and we'll bring in guys and we'll make the money, and we'll give the guys a bad payoff. We'll make sure we make all the money. I just the way I felt that's the way that went. But and I think really, truly, probably none of the wrestlers should have ever wrestled again in the wrestling.
Well, I mean, if anybody was listening to what we were talking about, the thing that sticks out in my mind that was the killer of the whole thing was these chicken matches that they were talking about, where you were actively advertising these other wrestlers going to be on your card. They pulled a no-show. That means that anytime you advertise any wrestler going to be on your card, people will already assume they're not showing up. That is because a wrestler was doing that.
Yeah.
A wrestler, not a promoter. A wrestler was doing that.
Yeah.
Never let wrestlers run your company, by the way.
Well, AEW needs to figure that out. Let's go see what the Insider Nation, for those of you who are watching this, everybody that we're talking to now are supporters of our channel. So let's go see what everybody's got to say. Rick Brooks, how you doing, sir? It's good to see you on here. Robert Grice is with us as well. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening to you. I see that I think this is Richard Hood. He is on our new Twitch channel. Hello, guys. How you doing? Aaron is with us as well. Aaron, thank you so much. Richard Hood said Plan B was a disaster. I agree with that. And you know what? If that would have surfaced, let me ask y'all this question. If that would have surfaced at that time, it would have killed the wrestling business for one thing.
Yeah.
But if the people would have knew that they had did that, there's no way nobody ever used them again. Mm-mm. I mean, look at Eddie Mansfield. And this was done Eddie Mansfield was done, what, 1983?
Oh no, it was 85.
1985. He's look at what he did, and he never wrestled ever again. Nope. Rodney, what do you think? If this Plan B would have got out, it would have killed the wrestling business everywhere because it would have got picked up by the networks.
And yeah, sure it would. And that would be, there are some people that says, if I can't be what I want to be in it, I'll destroy it for everybody else. And that's the reason everybody that was involved in this, I have no respect for. I'm sorry. I just have no respect for. There's some of them that recovered from it, that I respect their ability, but I would never trust them again. And some of them are very lucky to ever work again.
It's very to me that Ron Garvin never got a NWA World Heavyweight title. Yeah. To put that much trust in someone. But now at the same token, he had shown that he was not going to do that again. I mean, he'd wrestled to many people, Bob Orton as well. That they know that maybe they weren't going to do that again. Michael Barr is with us. I am here and accounted for. Michael Barr is with us. Aaron, let's see what Aaron had to say. He said, "Is it possible Roop was already in influence?"
Yes, it was. Yes, it could have very well been.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. You might be right about that. Oh man. Let's see. Richard Hood said that would have destroyed the business. Yes, it would have. It would have. But what year was it, Rodney? And was it 1980? What year did the Freebirds come to Atlanta?
It was 1980. Yes.
Do you remember when ABC? I think it was ABC. Yes. I'm pretty sure it was ABC. Sent for a whole week. They sent people down.
Yeah, it was Channel 2. Mm-hmm.
To all the shows in Atlanta and tried to, and all it was trying to expose
it.
Wrestling.
Exactly right. Because actually the show on Saturdays were destroying their news program. They were still the number one. Wrestling was still number one in Atlanta, and they were jealous of that. And that was their point. And they went around. And of course, if they would have went around Ron Fuller's territory, they would have been able to see the same thing every night. But in Georgia, they didn't do the same thing every night. What you saw in Columbus would not be seen in Macon, would not be seen in Atlanta. So they didn't do it.
Yeah, it was crazy the way that the media itself tried to kill professional wrestling.
Yes, it did.
And that goes back to the 1900s. They tried to kill professional wrestling. Even there, and Ron Garvin did surprise me that he would do that. That is his surprise of all the people. Michael Barr asked this question. He, for those of you who've not watched it, if you've not watched the interview with Les Thatcher and Charlie Platt, tremendous interview. We said this from the beginning. None of us should have been there. We didn't even have to be there. I was just there. I was window dressing at the end of it. Jack came in at the end and gave them their senior citizen discount for the buffet. But it was a tremendous interview. If you've not seen it, go watch it on our YouTube channel. Brent, the purpose for asking for Les for an autograph photo is that I collect pro wrestling photos, and I want to remember. And I'll make sure to send that over to you, so you can get with Les through his. Dan Lang said, "Sorry, I'm late, guys, but your YouTube links didn't work, and I had to create a Twitch account."
Uh-oh.
Well, it should be on right now. See, that's the reason I gave 2 ways to get on, just in case. The Twitch is easier to get on, by the way, than it is YouTube. I don't know what's going on with the YouTube Insider Nation. We don't have that problem with anything else, but that one we have a problem with. The tape went to Jim Barnett. Well, we know why that didn't, why that never made it. Because I can already say, my boys, this will never see the days. But you don't know what kind of deal he made with the rest of them wrestlers as well.
Yeah.
He may have said, I'll smooth it all over. You all guys will get a job. Just, Jim Barnett was a major player in professional wrestling.
He was.
Ever did that. Because Jim Barnett was a powerful man. Richard Hood said, I remember when that fan got Bob Roop sugar hose.
Got out of.
Oh, did he really get out of it? Where was this, Jack?
I can't remember. I was reading about it here not too long ago.
Michael Barr said $2.5 million was a lot of money in those days. And that was in 1979. That was a lot of money. And Ron Fuller had every right to sue them for that.
Well, they were coming to the shows as well and disrupting the show. I remember that as well.
Yeah, that's
they were just not. I mean, it's just and to me, if you're going to go heads up, the different thing in Atlanta is that they didn't play lowbrow stuff in Georgia. Gunkel and the NWA were just running against each other. It was one promotion against the other. They wasn't doing these cheap stuff like these guys were doing.
Michael Barr said, "Go ahead, Rodney. There is most likely more BS." If we all knew everything that happened in the wrestling business back in those days, there's no telling. We probably don't want to know. How many outlaw promotions were there out in those days? There wasn't many, I don't think. But the Pafos was there at the time. I believe that. I'm not for sure. Was not Thunderbolt Patterson? Was this the time frame that he was almost running Georgia?
Could have been with Lars Anderson. You're talking about that time?
Yeah.
It's very well.
I think you got to remember, this was a great time for professional wrestling. 1970s, they were making money in 1970s. Now, it took Ron Fuller a while to get Knoxville going, but once he got it going, it was making a lot of money. So these wrestlers said, oh, I can make this money. That was their thought process.
My question is this: if it wasn't for Jim Hess, I'm not sure that All-Star Wrestling would have got off the ground, and I would assume he was the real person behind the whole thing. He had the contacts; the wrestlers had no contacts.
Now,
I believe he's probably right at the center of it because Ron did fire him, did he not?
Yes, he did. Yes, and was not the story that Ron told himself on his cast. I don't know if it was very nice. I don't know that they left friends, by the way. I don't think so. I never finished listening to the stories, but I don't think they left as friends. So,
and that's that to me. That's the one that really started it all. Especially
by the way,
win.
When you're running professional wrestling, make sure you're very nice to everyone, because you never know when the person that you're being mean to is going to be the person you're working for. Or something.
Could happen.
Yep,
you're exactly right.
Be very careful about that. Hulk Hogan always said this. He said, "I was nice to everyone." He said, because on my way up, I was nice to people. And he said, because I'm going to meet some of those people on the way down. So he said, I tried to be nice to everyone.
That's right.
One-man gang started in ICW as Crusher Broomfield. Yes, he did. He eventually goes to Memphis. And I think Jim Cornette was one of his managers. Guys, didn't Blackjack Mulligan and Ric Flair on the Nashville territory? No. That has always been on with Nick Goulas, Roy Welch, and Jerry Jarrett. How many outlaw promotions stole money? I don't know if they stole money. I think Ron Garvin they won the belt and they just kept it. You know, why did Ron ever give them the keys to that thing for?
To legitimize the whole thing. That way people could see Ronnie Garvin out there running up and down the lake in Ron's boat.
I guess the same way that Wahoo and Tommy got to drive those Cadillacs for a few weeks.
I guess so. Michael Barr said, Rodney, I think Kevin Sullivan and Bob Roop are related.
I'm not sure.
The devil's favorite sons.
I will tell you, if you watch the Sullivan actually was there the year before.
Yes, he was.
Because he's in a match in the great.
That was Sunbelt Wrestling, right, Jack? It wasn't his promotion. You said it was Don Curtis's and Louis.
Don Curtis and Louis Tilley.
I actually saw a match with Kevin Sullivan against Phil Hickerson, Dennis Condrey. Great match on television. Ron Wright's the manager, and it's a tag match. I forget who the other guy was, and it was a really good match. And this was about a year before.
Rodney, Brent, and Jack, how much research goes into finding information on these promotions? A lot. Takes a long time. That one I got from different sources. I got it from a Bob Roop interview, and I got it now. Not all this information. I sometimes play this information, just read this information to say, don't know if that's actually true. You cannot believe everything you read, because they said Robert Fuller was there, and I don't believe he was. Robert Fuller was in Memphis. I'm pretty sure he was in Memphis, because Jerry Jarrett tells a story that he was sitting with Robert, and he said the Memphis had been doing bad. Mid-South Coliseum was really bad. It's probably drew the worst it's drew in a long time. And Jerry Jarrett looked over at Robert and said, "Boy, you can't get no worse than this." And Robert looked over and says, "You want to bet?" So that was the end of Robert Fuller's booking in Memphis. But at the same time, he took all his talent and went back to Knoxville, because they needed people to take the people's spot. And so Mongolian Stomper and Gorgeous George Jr. and a bunch of those leave and come back to Memphis. It sounds like Roop and Crockett would have made a dream announce team. David Crockett was like Gordon Soley next to Bob Roop.
I agree with that.
You know what? The more I listen to David Crockett, I could just tell. You know, I kind of respect him a little bit, because he put everything into it. He put all that excitement and all. I mean, he really was excited about what he was watching. It wasn't a made up thing. He was really excited when he was doing what he was doing. He was excited about it. So I have kind of a newfound respect for David Crockett. Do y'all see him that way now when you watch it now? I watch it back a little bit and watched it. I still look at him thinking, I still don't like to watch it. But man, he was in there. He was with it. I
agree with that. I agree with that.
I guess y'all don't share the same thoughts, but I mean, it's just.
I'm not saying he didn't try hard. I don't say that at all. I think he did try hard. He was interested in what was going on.
Outlaw promotions, it wasn't that they didn't pay you, because they would pay you, and they did very well. I mean, yeah, you could work for one. They'd pay you. Maybe might pay you better more than the actual promoters would have paid you. Robert Grice, I am amazed what I learned about the business behind wrestling each week. Yes, there's a lot of things you can learn about it. There's a lot of stories we can tell you that went on. Was this a show? And does the big thumbs up need to be put up and the bell rung? Yeah, do all that. Hit all that stuff. We didn't do that on that show, that last show.
Well, did you have any time to do?
No, we did not. No, we were.
Normally you don't.
We were about 10 or 15 minutes late. Rick Brooks, there was an outlaw promotion that tried to compete with the Sheik many years ago called Classic Wrestling that featured Buddy Rogers, Crusher Kowalski, Mark Lewin, and Killer Carl Cox. Huh. See, there was always somebody that thought they was going to make the money. They felt like they were shafted and they didn't make any money. It was called the International Wrestling League. Do y'all remember that? What year was this, Rick? I mean, this was probably in the 60s, wasn't it? Maybe the early 70s? Charles said, I enjoy listening to Ron Fuller Southeastern Rewind on YouTube, new episodes every couple of days. Yeah, if you get the opportunity, Ron has a great deal of knowledge. He can tell you everything that went on. He was the one there. So get over there and watch Ron Fuller's YouTube channel. Michael Barr. Was there ever an outlaw promotion that made it big time as a territory promotion? Jack? I'm not for sure. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I guess Jerry Jarrett would have been an outlaw promotion.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, even though but he would have been he was against the NWA. He wasn't a member of the NWA at the beginning. He eventually becomes a member of the NWA, which is kind of weird when you think about. Nick Goulas was the actual promoter there, and Jerry Jarrett ends up becoming a part of the NWA, which that's unheard of. But I think Eddie Graham liked Jerry Jarrett. Rodney, what do you think? Is there any territory that became?
Not that I know of. I had heard that possibly that Dick the Bruiser and those did something against Barnett to get that one, but I'm not sure. I don't know the details of that.
There was an outlaw promotion on Stewart Avenue in Atlanta back in the 70s. What was it called, Richard? Was it the Thunderbolt Patterson? Thunderbolt Patterson ran the car of the Omni back in the 70s. Civil rights leader
Hosea
Williams.
Hosea Williams.
Helped them get that building. Yeah, you had told us about that.
Yeah, I knew Hosea. He was a great guy.
Aaron said, I agree, Brent. I enjoy David's. Yeah, I didn't see it until I watched it a little different. I watched it a little different in the way he did. He always loved it. You could tell he loved what he was doing. It was the 70s and was promoted by Lars Anderson. Yes. And somehow he went with T-shirts.
That was 75 through 77, somewhere in that time period, because I was still in high school. And I graduated in 77. So I remember, still being at home, my parents watching that show.
That show that he's talking about it was 69 or 70. That's what it was. Did Jack Ruby promote an outlaw promotion? Didn't Jack Ruby promote an outlaw promotion?
I don't know.
Not for sure.
We'll have to look that up.
All right, we need to really quick, because I told people we'd show some programs real quick, and we'll do that, and then we've got to go. Let's Rodney, can you control the thing there? Bob Armstrong, meet the new television champion. Let's go over this way. There's a picture of Bob Armstrong with a TV title. Let's see. Well. All right, Rodney. Am I in frame here? All right, here we go.
All right, you got Koloff and it says Koloff and Superstar in trouble as Rich charges in. On the bottom, it looks like Kurt Von Hess and Bob Armstrong. On the other side is Bob Armstrong in a TV match against Carl Fergie. Tenru against, I'm not sure. Is that Jerry Stubbs, maybe?
Let's see. John Wolf.
John Wolf, and the superstar on the back. And then we had the
You
card from the inside.
Jerry
The
Oates
insert fell out.
Remember him talking about his Oates Brothers Auto Clean?
I did.
There you go.
Sure did.
There it is, right there.
There's Bobby Heenan, Bob Armstrong, Tony Atlas. And the TV show is going to be on 1 hour later. And then, of course, here's the big card for Columbus on August looks like 6th, 1979. Main event tag team elimination match. The superstar and pretty boy Bobby Heenan against Stan Hansen and Mr. Columbus. It's the tape fist match. Killer Carl Cox against Bob Armstrong, Georgia Tag Team Championship. Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff against Tony Atlas and Ray Candy. Doug Summers against Tommy Rich and Ben Alexander against Tenru.
Oh, by the way, it's a special guest referee right here, Tommy Rich.
Oh, I missed that. And then the Columbus heavyweight champion was Stan Hansen.
Here you see, look at the ticket prices. Ringside 4, general admission $3.50, children 11 under $2. Jack, was you at this show?
I'm pretty sure I was.
I guarantee that was sold out. Who was Mr. Columbus, by the way?
Let's see. Stan Hansen was not on that particular. Was he? Was he on that show? No, he was in the elimination match, wasn't he?
No, he was not in here. No. Yeah, he is. Stan Hansen and Mr. Columbus.
Stan Hansen, Mr. Columbus. For whatever reason, I'm thinking Wahoo McDaniel, maybe?
Not for sure. If anybody knows, let us know who Mr.
Ole and Ivan's still there, so.
Mr. Columbus was there for a while because here he is August 1st.
Oh, let me zoom in there, Kevin.
Wait a minute now. Is he not going against the superstar? It wouldn't have been wrestling 2, would it?
I'm not sure. I don't remember. I'm not sure. I don't remember. This is August the 1st. Main event, Georgia Heavyweight Championship, the Superstar versus Mr. Columbus, Georgia Tag Team Championship, Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff against Tony Atlas, Ray Candy, Killer Carl Cox against Bob Armstrong, the Eliminator against Stan Hansen, Carl Fergie against Mike Stallings, Doug Summers against Jerry Roberts.
Which would be later. The Mountie!
No pictures of Mr. Columbus, huh?
No pictures of Mr. Columbus.
The Superstar, Ole Anderson, Tony Atlas, Bob Armstrong.
All right, maybe somebody knows who Mr. Columbus was.
For whatever reason, we had a mystery.
Mr. Columbus was Fred Ward.
It might have been. Might have been.
Well, technically,
I'm still leaning. I'm still thinking because it seems like there was a Mr. Atlanta at the same time, or around that same time, and I believe it was Wahoo.
Could have been Wahoo. I don't remember. I will have to look that up.
I'm just guessing though.
Dan Lang said, "You're right, Rodney Bruiser and William Snyder took the promotion from Barnett." That's what I thought happened there. And by the way, that's the reason he goes to Australia, and he will not use Australians as the main wrestlers. You know, we did a story on that. He would only bring wrestlers from the United States to make them stars because he knew they were going to stay there. I could see why he did that. By the way, folks, if you've not seen it, go see the Les Thatcher, Charlie Platt. Tremendous interview. There you go, Brent. Make some copies of those and let me know how much you will charge me, and I will have a few of those cards. I have a ton of these, by the way. And there was a time that they were all in order. But when the water messed them up, they're not in order any longer. So curious. Michael Barr said curious why there was not a Mr. Alabama. Or they probably were at some point. I'm pretty sure there was a Mr. Alabama. Jack, you ever worked as Mr. Alabama?
No, but you guys remember Larry Santana. He worked all over Alabama as Mr. Tennessee.
I do remember him, yes.
Well, you talk about some heat.
Let's see. See, in a new promotion, there is a Mr. Atlanta.
That is
that's Zane, right?
Yeah, Tony Zane, and they have brought in a somebody that Tony manages is Mr. Atlanta, but Mr. Atlanta 2 wrestles.
Mr. Atlanta though is an old wrestler from the 1980s, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I can remember Georgia's Peach State Wrestling, I think, was.
Yeah. Tony started doing Mr. Atlanta back in the 80s.
Very good wrestler, by the way.
Yeah.
He was very good. All right. Everything that we talked about today, Jack, final comments?
Hey, good stuff, man. It's love the I love being on the show when I don't have to participate.
Rutton?
We just can't wait to the next interview with Bob Roop.
Well, I'm not one to conduct that interview, but we could and find out, get down to the nitty gritty. And if he wouldn't just turn off when we did that. Thank you guys so much. Thank everybody for supporting us. We certainly do appreciate it. We're trying something new now, and hopefully we really get into some deep conversation right here on Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. If you enjoyed this video, give us the big thumbs up, subscribe to the page, go one step further, hit that notification bell. I know Jack missed that earlier. And watch Charlie's and Les's interview right here.
I was sitting here with a hammer all night.
There you go. We'll see you. Thank y'all so much for supporting the channel. For all the supporters who are supporting us, we certainly do appreciate it. And we'll see y'all next week.